Welcome to The Weird Shack, the podcast that explores the weird and spooky. I'm your host, Ollytobblez, with my co-hosts Rhysgy.
What is on?
Ceige.
Hey, how's it going?
And Jordanwithstick.
Alright, Shackers.
And today we have a guest with us, JJGamer, and this episode is going to be talking about Victorian Spiritualism.
Mm-hmm. Joe's
So-
done all the research.
Yep. I'm just dropping in with everything. All my enthusiasm from previous podcasts.
Yeah. Joe's usually the one in the comments correcting shit we say wrong.
Yeah, I'm like, no, you fucking got it wrong, guys. No, I don't. I like to add little helpful things, like, I know about this.
Yeah.
Hi. Hello.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
I don't actually know much about, like, Victorian spiritualism. I know, like, the Lorraine and Warren's shit and all that stuff. Ed and Lorraine?
Yeah, you'll probably have heard of, like, a lot of
Some of the stuff,
the
yeah.
generalised things.
Hmm.
But I have a lot of notes, so I don't know how much I'm actually gonna get through. But there's a lot here. So, basically, the Victorian era was, it was Queen Victoria's reign, which was from 1837 to 1901. So it's slightly, I think it's like technically just outside those times, but that's
Okay.
roughly
It's
the
basically just
time
her
it is.
reign. Is that what it's
Yeah,
based
that's
on?
why it's called the
Yeah.
Victorian era, because it was Queen Elizabeth I.
Mhm.
And the topics today, I'm going to be talking about spiritualism, which is the belief that the dead can communicate with the living. This was a... Sorry. Got a bit nervous right now, so I'm...
No,
like,
that's
my
alright.
brain's
Don't worry
going
about it.
scrambled.
Don't worry about it. We're just listening.
Yeah, so it was sort of around the 1850s that people started to kind of, I guess, become fed up with conventional religion and started to turn to spirituality. And one of the main reasons for that was the ridiculous amount of deaths through, like, diseases and I think, like, health just wasn't very good back then. People
Yeah.
didn't live for as long.
Yeah.
So the first, like, documented case of the modern spiritualist movement was actually in a place called Hydesville, New York, and it was there's a story published in the New York Tribune from two sisters who claimed that they communicated with the ghost of a man that was murdered at the farmhouse that they lived in. So
Right.
these two, it was March 31st, 1848. 14-year-old Margaretta Maggie Fox and 11-year-old Kate started to tell one of their neighbours that they had a series of, like, knockings on their wall at bedtime. So the neighbour goes, I guess it was someone they're close with, the neighbour goes round, and then the mother was, like, showing them these noises. So she's like, they're all sat there listening in the girls' bedrooms, and she says, now count 5, and there's, like, 5 bangs on the wall.
Do they ask once or two?
It's pretty similar to that. It's like count 15, and then it does bangs like 15 times again. And
Count 16th.
she asks the presence, the age of the neighbour, and it knocks like 33 times for 33 years.
Okay.
So I don't know how his
That's
spirit
fucking boring, isn't it? Having been
like,
sat
One
there,
knock a year.
sat there waiting for 30 knocks.
What's
Right,
this man's
he might get it
age?
right. He hasn't gone over yet. Wait, let's just keep waiting.
What's this man's age? Oh, he definitely looks 33 to me.
33, wait. Give me a second.
Yeah. And then she said, if you are an injured spirit, manifest it by 3 reps. So...
And they start rapping.
yeah, then he started rapping. He did a little spooky spirit rap. The whole family literally deserted the house because of this.
It's like, he knows the age of our neighbour. Let's get out.
Yeah, it was pretty spooky. And the sisters went to go and live with their older sister Leah in Rochester, which is also in New York. And then I guess there was a lot of like Mormonism in the area, so a lot of like previous religious beliefs going around. And for some reason it became this thing that the story kind of evolved, and they said that it was a peddler who was murdered in the farmhouse 5 years before the family moved there. And the residents from the area like went to this farmhouse and they examined the cellar, and apparently they found like strands of hair and what appeared to be bone fragments there.
It was a rat that died.
I literally couldn't find out any more about like what
that could have been anything.
Who the hair belonged to, who the bones belonged to, but it was a farmhouse, so it could have been just like they
had a dog who used to sleep in the basement and used to give
various
him bones from the
and
meals.
I thought it could have been like chicken bones or something. You never know.
Yeah. They wouldn't have had like any DNA test or any way to tell, and he would have just been eyes, and it was like, oh, I guess this looks like a human hair.
Yeah. And anyway, it was basically later revealed that the girls had like rigged up an apple on a string, and so when they needed someone else to hear the knocking, they like pulled the string, and this apple was like banging on.
Legends.
Banging apples against it.
Yeah, because of this story, like I guess most of like the US and the UK were like, right, we're into ghosts now. Like it was just this crazy thing.
You said that was the first documented case?
That I could find that was like quite widespread that happened in like English speaking countries.
Actually recorded, as opposed to just word of mouth.
This is like the thing, and this is what got people into like spirit boards and everything. Right. Even Queen Victoria herself and Prince Albert, they were participating in seances as early as 1846. And when Prince Albert died, this 13-year-old boy from Leicester, he was part of like a family seance, and he passed the Queen a message supposedly from Albert during this seance, which he calls her by a pet name, which is something that's supposedly only known by Albert.
Oh. So no one knew that he called her this pet
apparently
name?
Not, but I mean it was a family seance, so
right. Yeah.
You don't know. We don't know. Could be.
The servants probably heard it. Told everyone about it.
Yeah.
For a laugh.
It's like last night we heard them whisper.
What was her pet name? Do we know?
No, I don't know. I should have looked it up.
Vicky.
Regrets. Yeah.
Oh, Vicky. Let's have a seance again tonight, shall we?
Everybody was really into it. In the 1860s, most of the media was filled with there were pamphlets about mediums. There were private and public seances. And the things that happened within those seances were a lot of things that you see in, like, I guess in, like, films today.
Yeah. Like stuff that still is, like, considered a thing done with, like,
the knocking on things. Everybody loves a bit of that.
Everyone loves a bit of knocking. Everyone loves getting an apple on a string and banging it against shit.
Yeah, so they said table rapping, tipping. Oh, tipping the table.
So table rapping is knocking.
Yeah. So they used to say, I think it's in the nursery rhyme about, like, rapping on the door, or rapping on the windows or something. So that was a word that they used for it.
Yeah.
So not actual.
Yeah, I know you said it earlier. I just thought, I better clarify that rapping means knocking.
Yeah, no. That was a good thing. And there was also, like, lots of different things with, like, probably blowing out candles, like the lights flickering.
Yeah.
And people doing automatic writing as well, which, for people who don't know, is basically like the medium will sit down with, like, a pen and paper, and they will, like, start drawing in, like, little. I don't know if it exactly happens like this, because I'm just going by what I've seen in
school. I feel like we did it.
Are you not thinking of handwriting practice?
No. Although I did need that.
Yeah, the ghosts teach you how to write when you're in primary school.
I remember doing a thing where, like, you leave your hand on the paper and then you close your eyes, you just let it move, and you don't think about what you're doing.
That's like a creative.
Yeah, but that's basically what it is,
like,
isn't
thing.
it?
Well, what they'll do is they'll sit down and they'll start doing kind of like these little loops, and then they will, like, say stuff to the spirit, I guess, and then the spirit will, like, start writing through them.
Yeah.
But I don't really know too much about it. That's just, like, what I've seen in the many films that I've seen.
Yeah.
Obviously, spirit boards were a massive thing that kind of. It's difficult to find out exactly when they started, but it was thought to be, like, around the same times as the seances and stuff.
Because spirit boards is, like, the modern day Ouija board, right?
Spirit board is a Ouija board, but it was before it was like made as a thing. Yeah. So
Talking board.
Yeah. Yeah, that was one of the names that they had for them, and it wasn't until, like, 1890 that it was through the Parker brothers, which is, like, Hasbro. Funnily enough, same people who did Monopoly.
Yeah, so
Hasbro did a lot of board games.
Modern day Ouija.
Wow, it was released through them, but actually it was a company called Canard Novelty.
Right, okay.
And there's this interesting thing about the name. Jordan knows it, because we were talking about this earlier. That's why he's, like, choking on his juice.
Yeah.
So it was thought to have been named for the French and German for yes.
Yeah.
Because we for French and Ja for German.
Yeah.
And apparently, I'm not sure, like, what's real, what's not real. This is just what I've found on the internet looking at several different sources, and, you know, it happened a very long time ago. The founder of Canard Novelty Co., who sold it to the Parker brothers, he was told that the word Ouija was the Egyptian word for good luck, and his sister-in-law was an alleged medium, and I guess they were, like, playing the game together, like, before it was released, when they're testing it or something. And so they claim that the board actually spout out the word, as in Ouija, which, for people who don't know, it's kind of like yes, no, yes and no on one side, because it's like
yes
asking
and no
questions.
on the bottom, right? Or is it at the top? Yes and no. Is it the top?
It depends. It's various, but there's like yes, no. There's goodbye, which you're always supposed to use when you're.
Yeah.
Goodbye is normally at the bottom.
Yeah, goodbye is normally at the bottom.
Right.
And then there's numbers and letters, so it's just like the alphabet and then the numbers underneath.
Yeah.
And it apparently spelled that out. So the
It named itself.
yeah. So they were like, "What's a good name for this board game?" And then they just played it, and they're like, "Tell us your name." And then they were like, "Yeah." The board was like, "Here's my name," and they're like, "Okay, that's great. We don't need to do anything now." So, the woman, the medium woman, who.
Not to be confused with a large.
Or an extra large.
That was all these jokes from that fucking Annabelle episode.
Oh yeah, the one about Annabelle and the biscuits. That was good.
Not to be confused with a large.
She was like, "Oh, I'm wearing this locket and it's got an image of a woman in it." Because it was like one of those photograph ones, and she said that the woman in it was called Ouija.
Okay.
And then it was later thought that this word was a misreading of the word Ouida, which is Ouida instead of Ouija, which apparently is like the pen name of a British writer called Maria Louise Ramey. So, like, I guess she was called by her first name, Louise, when she was younger, and they used to call her Ouida. And apparently that's, like, this whole thing is they claim that's, like, something to do with the Ouija board, which I'm like, this is some interesting stories. Like, kind of weird. Another person who was really interested in spiritualism and seances, all the kind of typical things, was Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, who most people remember for writing the Sherlock series. In 1887, he began a series of investigations, attending 20 seances, experiments in telepathy, and had sessions with mediums. And he, because there was that famous thing where Harry Houdini tried to do, he was like obsessed with like proving that it was fake, and like Arthur Conan Doyle was the complete opposite of that.
Oh, okay. So Houdini was trying to prove that it was fake.
Yeah. I remember I did watch a film about Harry Houdini. And there was a lot of stuff about that, so I think those two probably didn't get along too well. And also, Arthur Conan Doyle is remembered for, he did write several books about spiritualism, and he believed in fairies as well, because a lot of the Victorian era stuff was like, they were very into fantasies, fairy tales.
There's that famous story about those two girls who like cut out pictures of fairies.
This is what I'm getting into. That there were these girls who, in 1917, in a place called, I think it's called Cottingley. It's either Cottingley or Cottingley, but I'm not sure on the pronunciation. It's near Bradford in Yorkshire. And basically these young cousins called Elsie and Frances managed to fall like almost, I don't even know how many people, was it like in, I can't remember if it was just in the UK or if
like
it's in
the
US, like
least.
Everybody. They literally took these pictures with what turned out to be cut out illustrations from this book called Princess Mary's Gift Book, and there was like this massive thing where like people were getting like really riled up over whether fairies were real or not.
Yeah.
Because they had these photographs that they manipulated.
Yeah, the photographs are kind of interesting, aren't they? Because like
I've
just
watched
like
a film about
it's just their garden, isn't it? And they've
they were out in their
these
garden,
cutouts and they've like positioned them
and
amongst
yeah. Because another thing about that era was that photography was actually becoming like a really big thing.
Yeah.
And it was becoming like more widely available.
Yeah.
So yeah, they like photo manipulated those, and then like I think it was like on the deathbed of one of the girls, she was like, yeah, the photo's unreal. I just tricked like everybody. And also I just remembered the day that the article was written about the girls from New York and the ghosts that actually was published on the newspapers on April the 1st.
Oh.
So it was basically like the night before April Fool's that they told their neighbour that. So I don't. It's speculated that it's just like an April Fool's thing, but the paper got hold of it and they ran with it on April Fool's Day. But that's like loads of people were really serious about it. So a lot of people will probably realise that the Victorian era, Victorians were like quite obsessed with death almost. I guess because it was kind of everywhere, it was all around them, right?
Well, yeah.
So there were like lots of like different outbreaks of like loads of different things happening. People were probably murdering each other a lot. That's always been a thing for a laugh. Jack the Ripper, I'm pretty sure this was roughly around that time as well.
Yeah.
I should know because I'm a bit obsessed with.
So everyone had this,
Jack the Ripper.
definitely had this obsession with like the supernatural and just a lot darker themes in general.
Yeah.
Because obviously,
there was
with Jack the Ripper, like that was a whole big thing.
They believed that he was. They called him like Spring-Heeled Jack, and they thought he was some sort of demon that went around just like cutting women open.
Yeah, because they never called.
They never found out who it was, and there are these people now called Ripperologists who are like that's literally their thing. So there's been like so many books written on it, and
to try and find out who he is.
Yeah. There's so many like crazy theories, and there's still like they supposedly made like a mess up with the DNA evidence where there was like they had like blood on a shirt or something, and somebody just like I guess like stored it in a cupboard or something, and then like it just got thrown away or something really silly like that, because I guess they didn't know that DNA was going to be like a massive thing. But I mean people now like there's like a full, if you go to London now, there's like a big it's like a big tourism thing really. The stuff about Jack the Ripper, there's like stuff in like museums, and there's like this
there used to be like
exhibition.
A whole,
it's in, I think it's underneath Man
Two Swords.
Two Swords.
Yeah,
the
Man
wax
Two Swords
museum.
is like a whole thing about Jack the Ripper. And stuff.
But also, so I kind of am obsessed with Jack the Ripper, but also I was too scared to go down to do this thing at the time because I really don't like mannequins. Even though I went to Madame Two Swords, like it was just the same as that, but like probably quite dark and maybe a couple of people jumping out at you. There were loads of people dying really young. Was a massive thing. So you've probably heard that they used to do post-mortem photography, where they would have, it's basically photos of the dead, which, like, tying in with another thing again that I was saying about the photography, because photography was advancing, in order to get like family portraits, people used to have to pay an artist to like physically paint them.
Yeah.
So with photography, and it was a lot cheaper, they could that was like more widely available, and people would have these pictures of their deceased relatives, and sometimes they would also like be in the picture with them.
Yeah.
So they would have like family
photos.
Photos with dead relatives, which sounds really bizarre to us now, but
it
is something that they used to do.
And
with
those pictures, though, you could tell who the dead one was and who the live one was, because most of the time they had to stand still in it.
Yeah.
And with the dead one, their picture will be completely
always
clear.
moving.
But with the person who's alive in it, still their picture and it's blurry where they've moved slightly during the
It's like subtle movements being picked up.
Yeah, that's due to the
they don't have stabilization technology.
The long exposure times.
Yeah, because they had to like sit there for like a few minutes for it to like happen, for the photo to happen. Obviously, the dead person would have moved.
I believe it used to take a while.
Yeah. Not as long as getting a portrait painted. But,
I did hear that it did used to take like 30 minutes, but I don't know.
Maybe the first ever ones, yeah.
I don't know. That might have been going back further before that. But yeah, that was quite a big
I remember they
obsession
eventually did like a mixture of the two, where they'd take obviously black and white photos and they'd paint under them to actually give them the colours.
Yeah, they had the I think it was like with the silver plate underneath.
Yeah, because I've remember seeing them when I was doing art in college, and
because that's the kind of shit that you see when you're studying art.
Yeah, and they would show you the history of like photography, and there was the point in which it did almost look like colour photography way before colour photography was invented, because they would very subtly paint them, and it would be quite. It was pretty cool.
And they did used to like do what they do for like funerals and stuff now.
Yeah.
Where they like paint their faces.
Yeah.
To make them look like they're more alive.
Like in Hill House. Is it Hill House they have the musicians?
Yeah.
The sisters one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why is there always sisters and everything?
Sisters are creepy.
Sisters are common.
Sisters are common. There's too many of them.
I've got brothers, mate.
I have one brother. Just the one. They're rare. They're rare in my family.
That you read.
Yeah.
Nah, mate, it's only 3.
Reese is like a Hydra. Every time he cuts his head off, it becomes a new brother. And then he grows his head back.
There was a thing that there were these supposed like standing devices that were apparently used to like hold up the bodies of people to make them look like they were alive in the photos as well.
Yeah.
But actually, apparently it's a myth that that was a thing, and the people in those photos were actually alive at the time, but people like thought that they were dead.
Okay.
Later on, like at the time they probably knew, and then things happened, time passed, and people were like, oh, these people are dead. The standing devices, or like the sitting there was one called a sitter that literally like holds you to sit up straight.
Okay.
Which is interesting. Those were proven to not be able to actually like support the weight of a cadaver. So people
was it well, I guess like you could put them in that and then like have your family either end hold onto your shoulder.
Well, there is, if you look at photos, there are lots of different ones where I do remember this one actually, because it made me feel quite uncomfortable, where there was a mother who had passed away and she had her 2 young daughters in the photo, and what they did was they kind of like made the daughters lean into her, and they kind of like slumped her against them a bit. But it did make me feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Come on, we're getting your picture taken with, but Mummy died. Yeah, I know, but she's there. You gotta hold her up.
I can't. Weird, I literally can't. It makes me feel weird. There was also a system that they had called the waiting mortuary, which apparently was a big thing, especially in France. The initial definition of the word morgue comes from the French word morgue, which means to stare. So basically they had these bodies put out on the can't remember what they're called now, like on the metallic
autopsy table.
Yeah, that's the one. Like an autopsy table. And people would literally like go down to the local morgue and be like, right, come on lads, we're going down to the morgue to look at all these dead people. Like some sort of
so
weird
that's why it's called a morgue, is that you could come and stare at bodies.
Yeah.
Cash.
Supposedly. But it's kind of another thing. Like, a lot of this you don't know what's real and what isn't, because stuff gets so hyped up by the press.
It's getting embellished
and eager people. So they don't actually know if the waiting mortuary affected premature burials, because obviously there was a time when we weren't very medically advanced, and apparently we didn't know how to tell that people were really dead yet.
Well, there's all those things that people say about the bell with the string.
Yeah, that was the thing.
What was the other thing? There's another one. Was it like a pipe or something, so you could like shout out of it, or am I?
Oh, yeah. You're just like walking through a graveyard one night. And help me! Help!
It's like,
I'm dying.
You're right down there. We got a bit overeager.
Yeah, but they did. They had. It was called a safety coffin. So they had. I think it could be. Like I've seen it in films as well. That's like literally me just like, I know it's a thing because I saw it in a film. They tied like a piece of string around somebody's finger or their toe.
Yeah.
And if you could like feel, they would like, if they were like moving around, it would ring the bell, which was at the top.
Which must be fucking awkward if it's windy.
Well, there was like
if it's windy out and all the bells are ringing, like shit, I guess we better go bury.
I think it's more of a consistent ring than a constant ring.
I guess.
Yeah, but I guess like people.
You get told that before you die. Oh, if you die, ring in this fashion so we know that you're alive. If you're
you've got to do like a pattern.
The wind's gonna ring differently to someone.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that if it's windy and all the bells are making noise, you're not going to be able to tell if someone's in there actually ringing or not, are you?
Yeah, true, but like it's like if the wind,
that's what I mean.
If you're in the like the graveyard, right, and the wind's going, it'll be like ba-ding, ba-ding as the wind like changes position. But if you're standing next to the bell, tied to your wrist, and you're having a wank, you're going to tell the difference between the bell ringing and the wind ringing the bell, aren't you?
Not if there's many bells.
Can I just say, why would that be the first thing you do? Like, oh shit, I'm trapped in a coffin. Masturbate.
Well, you might as well. It's one stone, two birds, or whatever the fuck it's called.
One stone, two birds, mate.
Yeah, isn't it?
That's good. That's
two birds, one stone.
Yeah.
But yeah,
that happening is literally where the phrases "dead ringer" and "graveyard shift" come from. Yeah. Because people used to literally work the graveyard shift so they could listen out to hear the bells to see if there was. And people would wake up and suddenly they were in a coffin.
Yeah.
But also, there's a thing, I did not write the name of it down, so I can't remember. But apparently, in decomposition, there's a thing where the body, like, looks bloated and kind of blows up almost. So people used to, like, not used to think, oh shit, maybe this person is still alive.
Yeah.
And so they wouldn't know. And also they did, although I couldn't find anything about it, but maybe it's because I was thinking about the Victorian era specifically, they did used to put up bodies for like Jane Does and stuff. So if they couldn't identify somebody, they would like hang them up. Well, they wouldn't hang them up. I suppose they'd like display them in like a window or something.
Put them on a coat hanger.
And then they would get people would just go and look at them, because that was just like a regular, you know, little pop round the shops, let's pick up some groceries, and on the way back we'll go look at a couple of dead people and see if we know any of them.
Might be able to recognise them.
Yeah.
Go see if we can find Grandad.
They did.
It's like a Where's Wally, but with dead bodies and your granddad.
Why are you obsessed with it being a granddad?
Granddads are usually the ones who die, aren't they?
There's lots of pictures of dead babies as well.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Let's get into bed baby talk. Bed baby.
Well, unfortunately, there was. Just trying to see if I can find it in my notes now, because I've got so many notes. There was a sepsis womb infection that was known as child bed fever, and that was one of the biggest killers of pregnant women. And I wrote antagonist, but that is not the word that I meant to put there. I think it was anatomists. They wanted to research like the causes of miscarriages and abnormalities in childbirth. And obviously, like, it's strange to think that a lot of people, like, a lot of things were actually progressing like very quickly in the Victorian era, because we're progressing a lot scientifically. I don't know if what photography come under science.
Yeah,
that works. And medically as well, we were, because there were I think is it called Birkin Hair? I think. Which is a story about people who used to go out and collect the dead, and they used to do this thing where there was like a trade for dead bodies before there were like things like there are now, where there's like
but it used to be illegal to like do stuff with bodies. Once you're dead, it's like, you can't touch that, leave that alone. Because that was the big thing with who is it? Is Michelangelo?
You're literally thinking of a statue. And you're thinking of an artist who did the statue of David.
That's the guy, right? Who did all the science stuff?
No, Da Vinci.
Da Vinci. That's what I'm thinking of. Yeah, so Da Vinci used to go to these illegal autopsies.
Yeah.
Because there's a bunch of paintings and stuff he's done, which the only way you could do those as accurately as he did them was if you actually had seen the inside of the body.
Yeah.
Which he had.
It was like
but at the time, that was a crime.
The anatomical research. But he did that for like animals as well. He just had like literally like body parts of animals like just hung up in his house.
Yeah.
Like, oh look, there's like half a cat. Like, that was a literal thing. Yeah. There was a rule in the Medical Act where from 1858 through to 1886, if you were training as a doctor, you had to dissect 2 bodies in a 2-year training cycle. And there were... Jordan just looked at me really weirdly, like, what the hell? I guess they were... It was just a thing where they did that as part of their research. Yeah, you had to
How big a role do you have to have in the autopsy? Because you can have multiple people performing an autopsy, right? Because if it's one per person, then that's going to be awkward now. You got to wait around.
Yeah, no, it was literally every single person had to
have a body. They had to do 2.
Yes. But there were a lot of people dying.
Oh, yeah.
There were a lot of people dying.
There's plenty going around.
But then also, like, it wasn't legal to just take bodies.
Yeah. So they had to be donated to science.
Yeah, basically. But I'm not sure how much of a thing that was, donating to science back then. It's a big thing now. If it was like a homeless
person or something, you'd probably be like, you can go ahead. At the time, I would imagine that would be a thing, right?
Well, that used to happen with a lot of people. Like, there were a lot of, like, prostitutes, drunks.
Yeah.
Like, so-called undesirable people. And there were literally 125,000 bodies that were traded during that time. Illegally, all illegally.
Cash.
And there were another 125,000 financial transactions in the same timeline that was just body parts.
People were still illegally selling.
Yeah, people were illegally selling
bodies.
Which is what Birkin Hair is, but I should have looked it up beforehand, but I had written so much down at this point that I was like, I don't think I can write anymore. But yeah, it was basically about 2 men who like teamed up together to like just go around getting a bunch of bodies.
Yeah.
And I think at first, because this can be repetitive, I have seen a film about it. But I think they like a man accidentally died while he was with them. And then they like, I feel like it's based on a true story, but I don't know if it is. And then I guess he like was ill or something, and he died while he was in their care. And then they like found out about this body trade, and they were like, oh, I guess you can have this guy. And then they like started digging up graves and giving those bodies to them. But they would not get much money for it. So they would get more money for it being someone who was recently deceased.
Right, yeah.
And the thing was that they at one point started killing people.
Right, I see.
I'm gonna have to look this up afterwards because it's gonna annoy me. So I can't remember whether it's like based on a fictional thing or just like, I feel like Simon Pegg was maybe in it. I don't know.
Oh, is it that the one with Simon Pegg and Andy Serkis?
Maybe. Sounds familiar.
Might be.
Yeah, there were. It was body snatchers.
Yeah.
That's where that term comes from, body snatchers. Or the hospitals. The London major teaching hospitals employed people called body dealers.
Okay.
Which sounds as weird as it is. So in St Bartholomew's Hospital, which is a big hospital in London, the porters, which is like the staff who like have to clean up stuff and move things around and like do things with the beds and stuff, they would take these massive laundry baskets full of what looked like dirty washing, and they would put, it was on wheels as well, they would put them under a place called King Henry VIII Gate opposite a market, and people would like take the big basket of what just looked like dirty washing, but it wasn't just dirty washing, that's what they would put the bodies into, so that it was just kind of like the guise of it being,
they just had this system basically where they
it was,
pretend they were doing stuff with
it was
clothes,
undercover,
it was actually
it was
them just
undercover.
moving bodies around.
Yeah, and they would just wander the streets at dark and just go around and pick a bunch of bodies up. Yeah, it's like scrounging for a bit of food, but instead you're just looking for just random bodies.
Yeah.
But also it was the Victorian era, so there were a lot of bodies going. Yeah, I mean, personal hygiene back then was like nothing.
Like, are you alright? Everyone alright in there? Yeah, we're alright. Oh, okay.
Well, there was
know anyone who's not feeling great?
There was this thing about like a guy going, I don't know if it's to do with the plague or not, about a guy going around with a wheelbarrow and like ringing a bell and saying "Bring out the dead."
Yeah.
I can't remember if that was from
in Holy Grail. That is
it?
They parody, yeah.
Doesn't surprise me. But that was like, I guess that was the thing when it was like the plague. Probably.
In Monty Python's Holy Grail was a bit where there's a joke where this guy's trying to get rid of his like dad because Eddie's really old. And he's like, he's dead. Just take him. But he's like, are you sure he's dead? He just said so. It's like, nah, he's definitely dead. He's dead. He's trying to get rid of his relative, basically.
Yeah, as you do.
All right, should we have a talk about some bits and bobs?
Yeah.
Have you got anything else?
Literally just that the bodies would go for like different prices. So they had like a system. And like pregnant women, stillbirths, and like young infants would go for up to a year's wages.
Fucking hell.
So like
So it was a lucrative business.
Yeah, I'm not surprised that people were in this business. Especially if there like weren't many jobs around at the time.
Yeah. Because when we all went, well, except from Joe, obviously. Joe,
I was not in the picture at that
We all
time.
went to Bob and Joe together.
Yeah.
And they did actually have a part of that where we did. It was the thing with the table and the glass.
Yeah, I didn't really like
called
that.
What's it called? Because that's a Victorian era parlour game.
Yeah, because they have with a spirit board, they have something called a Plantchat.
Yeah, that's where the Plantchat came from.
Yeah, the Plantchat evolved from the glass.
From the glass, yeah.
So you'll put your finger on.
But this is
and,
just
like,
it was
table.
one person moving around the table or something, and if it moved, it was like answering you.
Oh, is that the one what
Gilb's Captain, yeah.
Freaked out with?
No.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, it wasn't one person doing it. It was like.
Yeah, no. I think I was sat on the line to it because I don't really want to do it.
Yeah, Rhys didn't actually do it with us, but we were doing it.
Yeah, and I think Gilbs was part of it as well. And if I remember correctly.
The thing was, well, obviously, I don't want to talk about it if Gilbs doesn't feel comfortable.
Yeah, I know.
About it, so I don't know if we should or not.
I wouldn't personally.
But yeah, basically it was a thing where you put your finger on the glass and you ask questions. And depending on the way the glass is rotating or how quickly it's rotating, because you're basically spinning it around in a circle. But when I did it, I definitely wasn't moving it. I don't know if I think Ollie, you said you didn't move it either.
No, I took it seriously.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where it could just be like one of the women who volunteered, because there was 2 other people with us who we didn't know. They could have been a plant or something, and they were just the one moving the glass.
But the thing is, with Ouija boards and like the glass cup thing, it's meant to be like the spirits channeling you. You're meant to move it yourself, but not pay too much attention to it.
Yeah, well, isn't the scientific
the idea behind it is that because you want it to happen, you want it to move to, like, you might have like an idea in your head that you could be thinking you just lost an aunt called Mary or something, and you could be thinking about her while you're doing this. Maybe you specifically want to contact her, and just by you thinking about it, you can end up kind of like getting answers from that, because your subconscious is making you think, I want to see the glass move. And if there's like, especially if there's a group of people touching it, so everybody's thinking, I want to see it move.
Isn't
and you're like making it move without even realising that you're doing
there's like
it.
a thing that, is it like a micro movement where it's like such a subtle tiny movement that you can't detect it, but because it can be influenced by your thoughts, this tiny little movement, but with obviously a few people doing it, it can make it move quite easily.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know.
I think it's really, like, if you want to believe it, I think totally you can believe it.
I think it's interesting.
It's definitely interesting. There's like a lot of interesting history behind it.
Because we've always talked about doing it, haven't we, Ollie?
What, the Ouija board or the
Ouija board,
Yeah, because you've got one, haven't you?
We tried it before, me and well, we tried it in the woods, didn't we, Rhys? Me, you, Chris, and David. We went up to the top of the woods, didn't we?
I don't think
that was your birthday, wasn't it?
I don't think we took a Ouija board. I think we just went up there with some candles and
tried a seance.
Yeah, sat in a circle and whatnot.
Yeah, I don't remember in a Ouija board.
I do remember a couple of candles.
We have tried doing a Ouija board.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had that weird
I don't
noise
think
in
I
the
ever
house.
tried.
I like the horses on the cobblestone as
Yeah,
well.
the cobblestone. Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit freaky.
Yeah.
No, we need to do a get together when the COVID party's finished.
The COVID party, everyone's having a party, of course.
Hey, do you remember much else what happened on the Bodmin Jail? Right.
Yeah.
Was that what the horses on the...
No,
that was up in the woods.
The woods on the birthday.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we have told this story on the podcast before, haven't we?
Probably.
So,
I just have like the worst memories, so don't be offended if I
just
don't
like
remember.
To quickly summarise it, it was just Ollie, Rhys and Chris with our friend David went up into the woods near where I used to live and basically took candles up and did like a little seance and asked some questions, and you heard the noises of... Is that right? You heard noises of what sounded like horses?
Yeah.
Cobblestone.
Didn't we hear it in like 2 different locations? We did it in 2 different bits.
Yeah.
There's that one which is...
also, another thing to bear in mind is that there are a lot of people around there that have horses and...
There's not really any
but then it would be weird.
No, we was up by the witch doctor's house, the one that's next to the camp.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
It's still like very unlikely, but I'm just.
Especially
what you're trying to debunk?
I'm just
especially at that time of night.
Possibility as to why you heard the noise. Well, you'd be surprised because I know one of the.
They usually do it very early in the morning. I would say.
She'd do it in the dark.
Yeah, but when they do it very early in the morning.
Very early and sometimes very late at night. Which
just moving horses round to different fields.
Going through on like roads and shit with horses at night is a fucking bad idea.
Yeah, I wouldn't risk it. Especially those roads.
Yeah, especially country
they are
roads.
Basically blind roads because you
Yeah.
can't see what's coming at certain angles.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
we
I don't
had-
feel
we
like
had
there's
stuff-
any cobblestones around.
Sorry, what are you going to say?
Sorry, Ollie.
No, that's right. We heard something in the hedge as well.
Yeah.
That could have been an animal, but we were talking, so I wouldn't see why it would have came closer. You know the bit where like it's it's got the like the wild garlic patch up there.
Yeah.
It was like in that bit rustling.
Right.
Quite loudly, to be fair.
That's interesting.
But yeah.
Oh, hedgehogs.
Sorry, was it Rhys you said about stuff that we did at Bobbin? Do you remember any of the other stuff?
Yeah, because like one of the other things I remember was when we was in that big dark room when we had the lights off, and they were like saying about like feeling your hand raising in the air and whatnot. And just that went a lot on about like the sort of like with the Ouija board circle thing with you like subconsciously doing it sort of thing, we're not realizing.
Yeah. I remember that because I got freaked out.
Yeah, see, I was quite freaked out because before any of that happened, before anyone said anything, it just felt like something was grabbing my hand. When like started asking people and whatnot whether everyone's felt or hearing or seeing anything, I just was like, nah, I'm not saying nothing. I don't want to be. Like,
so they.
I'm one of these ones which don't want to like, you know,
draw
attention to myself about it all. If it happens, I'd rather just experience it myself rather than let everyone else be like oohing and ahhing sort of thing over it.
Yeah.
Were they asking questions and then you had to like lift your hand up to see?
But there was a bit when we were all holding hands in a circle, and because this is the bit I remember because it freaked me out, and the guy was talking to like just asking for spirits to like interact with people. And basically it was like freezing in that room. There's like not really any heating or anything in there, but I got really hot and people stood on either side of me. I'm not sure, I think it was people in our group. I think Ollie might have been one of them. I'm not sure who was on the other side. Got really cold. And they said that that's apparently a thing where they take energy from people, diverting it to other people. So, like, that's what we summarised had happened, is they'd sort of taken the heat from the people on either side of me and put it into me. So I was there, like, really warm in this corner. I was like, this is weird. I remember that freaked me out a bit. At the time.
Do you remember? Do you remember being in the big room where they were trying to get you to find your spirit animals?
No.
Like he told you to close your eyes and picture an animal.
That was in the same room.
Yeah, it's in the same room.
Was that the same bit?
Yeah. It might have been like I think we might have been in like they tried. I think they did like separate groups, didn't they, as well for that?
I think we were in the same group though, weren't we?
There was two separate groups if I remember correctly, but obviously us lot were in the same group, and then there was another group walking around, weren't there?
There was a group of they were there on like a hen night, wasn't there? And they were just like screaming in reaction to everything. Do you remember that?
Yeah. That's believable.
We were sat in the waiting room to go in to do this thing while they were doing it, and we heard them screaming, and we went in there and we're like, "Well, this is gonna be fucking weird." And then the guy was just like, "Yeah." So at the end of the thing, he was like, "I didn't think we were gonna get any reactions from you, this group, because of the way that you are as people. I kind of had that feeling, whereas with the other group, because it was like a bunch of people at the hen night, I kind of had the feeling that they were going to overreact like
they've been on the booze, so they were ready. They were ready to scream.
But you can like stay the night there and shit like that as well, can't you? Because we did this thing where we went there for dinner, right? So we had like our last meal of the day.
I thought you were going to say you had your last meal there.
Well, what time was it when we went there? It was like early morning, right?
No,
we went there in the evening at like 7 PM, I think, and had our meal.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we left.
I thought it was later than that.
No.
Yeah, I thought it was later than that.
Yeah, I do think it was like 7 we got there.
Right, I see. And then
or at least the meal was at 7.
No, I think we arrived at 7 and had the meal, and it all started around like 8, 9 o'clock sort of thing.
I remember standing around in the courtyard bit smoking. Remember that? And they had like a pit there where they used to hang people.
Yeah, it was like the last known one, wasn't it?
They used to hang all the smokers there.
Yeah, basically the smoking area was like right next to that.
Yeah, smoke at your own risk.
Yeah.
When we was in the large room and they were trying to get us to like keep our eyes closed and picture a spiritual animal, I proper scared myself crapless, you know. Bricked it. I remember getting really into the moment and opening my eyes, and obviously it was very dark, but your eyes do sort of adjust, and they did have the emergency lights like dotted about just in case something happened. I remember looking behind in one of the prison cells and just seeing the outline of one of the mannequins that they had in there. Jesus, that traumatized me, I think.
That gave me a giggle.
They had all, like, the
next to
cells.
you.
Yeah. I think I remember whispering to you, "I just shut my pants."
It gave me a good giggle.
Because they had all like the prison cells there with like mannequins set up in like different scenes. And
Yeah.
That creeped me out.
And I remember the guy was making jokes about Derek Okora at the time.
Oh god.
Because he had come there, and because apparently there's a group of spiritualists or psychics or whatever you want to call them, or whatever they call themselves. I know they have different terms.
Whatever they wish to be known as.
Yeah, there was a bunch of them that would regularly work there at Bodmin, and then he turned up to do like a TV thing for that TV show that he did at the time.
Most Haunted,
yeah. And he was just like hamming it up the whole time, and they were just like all like cringing and just like being really put off by it. Apparently they had a mannequin that they dressed up to like subtly look a bit like him. I remember that.
Nice. Yeah,
it's interesting.
My granddad, from my stepdad's family, he I think his family, because his family is from Ireland, like Romany gypsies and stuff, and apparently Derek Okora was part of that community as well.
Oh yeah, you told me about this. Yeah.
And they used to slag him off pretty bad and say that
that's where he
really
came from. Derek Okora was a gypsy at one point.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
And
that's where he was born.
And he was part of that community.
From that, he became what he was. Obviously, he's dead now.
He's with Sam.
He's with Sam now.
Derek Okora's dead?
Yeah.
Yeah, Derek Okora's dead.
Not like that.
Yeah.
He's with Sam now. I do remember laughing and watching him when he used to talk to Sam. He'd be like, "What's that, Sam?" Just like,
that's pretty good, wasn't it? Pretty legendary. But I feel like it's kind of good to have stuff be a bit like cheesy. Otherwise, it'd all just be like really serious and just talking about like murders and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it was like talking about murders and stuff. Like,
oh, he did one where he did a seance with the ghost of Michael Jackson. Have you ever seen clips from that?
What?
It's fucking ridiculous.
No.
Because you get to see Derek Okora doing like a weird fucking Michael Jackson voice, trying to talk to like these huge Michael Jackson fans. It's really fucking cringy.
What a legend.
It's a good cringe video. If you want to watch a cringe video, you're right.
I know there was
Joe fell off a chair.
Yeah. I wasn't like, I was just rocking on it. It was really stupid. It was not good at it. I didn't like fall off because I was scared.
Yeah, you're scared of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I'm low-key. He did. There was like that one episode that got really big because that was like he was looking like these. They were like in a graveyard or something, and they found like this gravestone with the name of a girl called Fanny on it, and then they were talking about how she like had this boyfriend and his name was Dick, and he was there shouting "Fanny loves Dick" in the graveyard, and everybody. I remember that went like really viral.
Oh, what a fucking legend!
Yeah.
Yeah, the Michael Jackson one's so funny because there's guys like dressed up as Michael Jackson because they're like huge Michael Jackson fans. They're sat around a table and they've got Michael Jackson's hat. Apparently it was actually his hat. And they're having a seance around the hat trying to talk to Michael Jackson. And Derek Gore's there like doing this really fucking weird voice, which I guess is in his mind Michael Jackson's voice, talking to these fans. And the fans are just...
talking as him.
As Michael Jackson. And his fans are just like excited about the fact that they're just excited about the fact that Michael Jackson's hat is there.
They don't give a fuck.
One of them, they're like, they're talking about it. One of them's like, I just can't believe this is his hat.
Yeah. It's like we're communicating with his actual ghost hat. Yeah, I don't give a shit, mate. I'm touching
his hat right now. Yeah. So I think, Rhys, were you going to say something, or Chris was going to say something at some point, and then we started talking about something?
Still talking about Michael Jackson.
Nah, I got nothing.
It's probably long lost now.
Keep going.
Far gone.
Alright, should we call it here? Has anyone got any last bits and bobs? Anything to say?
I'm just still shocked Derek Okora is dead. I didn't realise. Lol.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I didn't know that either.
Yeah.
I remember having some good laughs on Most Haunted. There was some good laughs.
Yeah.
Well, it did seem like he was more of like the comic relief sort of person for it all.
Oh no, Yvonne's face though.
Oh yeah, because do you remember she had those huge eyes, and with the night vision bits, it was just like you could see her huge eyes like shining.
She's really shocked face.
And she always looked like she was about to fucking scream or cry. Yeah. Yeah. I remember when he got like proven. The thing is, with all these psychics and stuff, they've always been proven many times that they're fake. Because they always do the stupid live show. They always have to do a live show where they go and they sit on a stage and they're like, oh, does anyone here know this person, etc. And it's so easy to just go to be like, with the first name they say, just stand up and go, yep. And then just go along with all the bullshit they say. And then at the end just be like, yeah, no, I was just making all that up. Yeah, no, everything you just said's loads of bollocks. Like, it's that easy to like prove a psychic's not a psychic. So
Jordan and I have had conversations about this because I have had experiences with. I went out with a paranormal team. Well, I was with a paranormal team. There was another team as well.
Yeah.
And a few like bits and pieces like that have happened. So
yeah.
I went to a spiritualist church one
You used
time.
to do ghost walks and stuff, didn't you?
Yeah. Those were interesting.
Maybe we'll talk about that.
Yeah, that's more food for thought for the future for sure.
There's meant to be a carry on.
No, it's alright.
There's meant to be a haunted like bridge by mine.
Yeah, we were talking about this before.
Oh, was that you were saying about that on your Twitch account?
Yeah, it's like a spooky bridge that like if you don't hold your breath when you go underneath it, you get possessed. And there's meant to be like a lost graveyard up the road from it somewhere.
Alright.
And if you do get possessed, the ghost just makes you hold your breath.
Yeah. You die.
Until you pass out.
Ollie's like, till you die, and then John's like, just till you pass out.
Well, then you wouldn't die because you'd pass out. Your body would be like, right, I'm making you pass out now, and then you'd actually breathe.
True.
You can't die from holding your breath. I
don't know.
Depends if you smash your fucking head on the rock on the way out.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, that'd be a rock killing you, not you holding your breath.
Maybe you fall into a puddle.
See,
and then you
the
drown.
holding your breath would have still technically killed you because that's what made you fall and hit your head.
Ooh.
Yeah,
it's still what's technically killed you.
Alright.
Yeah.
Alright.
I feel like that did.
Right!
Bloody Daddy Tobbles. Daddy Tobbles.
I gotta have Alistair soon. Fuck. The fuck. Always riding my back. Anyway, right, so I think we'll call it here. It's an hour and 10 nearly.
Yeah.
We can touch up on it on next episode because we can do a little bit of what you're going to do, Chris, with the spooky objects and stuff.
Who?
Yeah, it's about cursed objects, aren't we?
Yar.
Yeah, cursed object, curd obstext. Yeah, cursed objects.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Oh. I would carry on, but I'm on a time frame. Don't want to get my head caved in.
Fair play, mate. Yeah. Fair
play.
All right, so thank you for joining us, JJGamer.
Thank you.
It was nice to get a little bit of knowledge, because I didn't know much about all that stuff.
I watch a lot of films and a lot of documentaries, so that's where that comes from.
Yeah, we got plenty of ideas we can do. We can always do another one where we bring you back and talk about shiz.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, boys. Does anyone have any last words?
Nah, mate.
Nah.
Don't.
Chris, you've barely spoke this whole episode, bro.
I've been listening,
bugs.
mate.
Don't hold your breath.
Don't eat bugs you find on the ground.
No.
Only ones that were made in a bug farm and kept in a hygienic fashion.
What?
Well, bugs are good for you. I would know.
not random ones off the ground though.
Stay safe, everyone. Stay safe.
If you can eat bugs, guys, eat safe bugs. All right. That's it.
Right,
That's all I've got to say. All right.
You can get pre-packaged ones. It's fine.
Pre-packaged bugs. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to talk about anything. We reply to pretty much everything. We have obviously our YouTube. We have Instagram. Just drop us a message, and I think our email are going to be in the links from now on if you want to message us. And if anyone wants to be on the show, give us a bell. We can talk about it. As long as you got Discord, Audacity, and a mic, we're good to go. All right. Thank you for joining us, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
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 See ya, shackers.